The team over at Kin Hang were kind enough to send us one of their mid-range gaming consoles for an independent review. The X2 Pro Super Console. The console arrived well packaged and in a high gloss finished box. Upon opening the package, the console appears to be separated into two parts. The console itself with its additional accessories, as well as the controllers. There's a manual for the controllers, which is written in both English and Mandarin. The controllers are wireless and mimic a PS2 look. However, the plastic finish is smooth and a lot lighter than the original PlayStation controllers, and would probably benefit with some aftermarket grips. Moving on to the console, it is packaged in a white glossy box. And includes a power supply, a remote, an English scribed user manual, as well as a USB 4-in-1 adapter. And of course, a complimentary 1.5 meter HDMI cable. The console itself is light and compact and measures approximately 4.5 inches squared by 1 inch thick, and features a high quality gloss black finish plastic surface. The right hand side of the console features a TF card slot as well as 2 USB ports, while the rear of the console features power jack, AV out and LAN. The console itself runs off an 8GB eMMC ROM featuring 2GB of DDR4 RAM with an operating system Android 9.0 EMU ELC 4.5, meaning that it has more than enough power to emulate most of your retro video game consoles. Being compact, setting up the console for gameplay has been simplified. AAA batteries are required for both controllers as well as the remote. It's just a matter of clicking in the peripherals into the Super Console X2 Pro and then powering it up for use for the first time. We must admit, setup couldn't be any easier. It's just a matter of inserting your batteries into your controller and remote and powering it from the back of the console. And if 2 wireless controllers aren't enough, a USB adapter's been added for an additional 2 wired controllers. Even though this console is more than sufficiently powered, it does take approximately a minute to load its enormous gaming library. We must be honest, when we first received this console, we were a little skeptical that it held over 100,000 games. However, upon initial boot, to our surprise, the console holds over 107,000 games, which is more than adequate for any retro gamer. The main menu has a clear and easy to use GUI layout and can be controlled using the analog thumbstick. The console holds over 60 emulators, including Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, Genesis, M64, MAME, PSP, and PlayStation 1, as well as a few rarer overseas titles, which include Pokemon Mini, 3DO, PC Engine, MSX, Neo Geo, Supervision, and Sharp 68000. Being excited to receive such a fantastic console and to put it through its paces, we knew that we had to test it with a more memory-hungry console, such as the PlayStation 1. And what better way to test this console than with Crash GTR? One of the great features of this console is the frame rate per second display in the right-hand corner. And being tested on a PAL 65-inch 4K TV at 720p, this game held true at 60 frames per second. There appeared to be no lag, and image quality remained as it was on the original PlayStation console. Another well thought through feature of this console is that it holds internal memory which is used for game saves. So without the use of any external devices, gameplay can be paused and resumed at a later state. With the PS2 look controller provided, gameplay felt just like the original. But of course, we couldn't stop there. One of the consoles that we were intrigued about was the DS. This idyllic console has so many classic retro games, and we were baffled to how it would emulate two screens on the single LED TV. And to our pleasure, the screens were mounted side by side in a square look configuration. We were actually happy with this setup, as mounting the screens above one another would have elongated them too much. Another pleasing and well thought through feature of this setup is by using the top trigger buttons, the console emulates a stylus pen just like the original DS would. This option will definitely come in handy playing games such as Brain Academy. One feature that we were surprised wasn't included with the DS emulation was the use of the analog sticks. Just like the original console, the control could only be used via the directional buttons. If you're enjoying this video, now's the perfect time to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. One popular game triggered our mind that we knew we had to test on this console. You guessed it, 007 for N64. This game has been extremely difficult to emulate on a number of consoles, including the PSP 3000 and the PS Vita. Common issues include frame rate lag, as well as unsynced audio. So just like our previous test of the PlayStation emulator, so we decided to run the display at 720p on a PAL 4K TV with frame rate display in the top right hand corner.
Good afternoon, sir. Can I help you?
The name's Bond.
Mr. Bond, we have a safety deposit box waiting for you.
And to our surprise, a majority of the gameplay did hold at 60 frames per second.
I'm sorry, I can't help you. Sorry to disturb you.
And what classic retro test wouldn't be complete without using MAME and the Simpsons game? In this instance, we chose the 4-player mode. The beauty of this setup is that you can choose 2 players simultaneously within the game using one controller, making gameplay much more enjoyable. As the game was originally created in the 90s and played on a larger CRT monitor, image quality is quite standard, as expected. It's no secret by now that we're Game Boy lovers, so how could we test this console without running the Game Boy emulation? So how could we not test this console without playing a few Game Boy games? And how could we go past the all-time favourite of Pokemon Blue? Of course, this console would have no issue playing this game. However, we want to compare it with previous emulators and aftermarket hardware. If you're a Pokemon lover, you'll definitely enjoy this next feature. The console is able to be overclocked. Simply hold down the select button and the left trigger button to increase game rate by up to 250%. And with so many aftermarket hardware products able to play original Game Boy cartridges, we thought it was fitting to test the Game Boy Advance emulator. Playing Game Boy Advance games on the big screen is always a pleasure of ours, and we certainly weren't disappointed. The console stayed true to the original screen size and was easily capable of producing 60 frames per second. Colours remained crisp and vibrant, And playing a 480p game on a 720p resolution, we found no issues with pixelation. It's now time to discuss our final analysis of this console. Let's start with the pros. The console's small, lightweight, well finished, adequately powered, and comes with 2 wireless controllers. Additional wired controllers can be added via the USB slot. It can also be a media center with the addition of internet via the wired LAN port. The console's loaded to the brim with over 60 emulators and over 107,000 games, many from rare aftermarket overseas consoles. That's more than adequate to satisfy any retro lover. And finally, one of the features that all retro gaming lovers appreciate is an overclock feature. During gameplay, some games can be clocked up to 11 times their original speed. Although we feel this console is great overall, there are a few cons we must discuss. One being the initial boot up time, which takes almost a minute. This can become a little frustrating when resetting between gameplay or media mode is involved. As well as the startup screen, the constant bombardment of the manufacturing logo between emulators does get a little tiresome. We can appreciate that this console is a multi-based emulating system. However, the configurations for buttons for individual games varies and can be confusing at times due to key changes. The finish of the controller is light, smooth, and standard, and would benefit from some aftermarket grips. And the lack of rechargeable controllers is a little cumbersome in this day and age. Overall, we feel that this mid-range console for under US $150 is of great value. Whether you're a retro lover or wanting to get back into the retro scene, this console is definitely for you. It features over 60 classic emulators, as well as being preloaded with over 107,000 games, which is able to please any gaming lover. The console is compact in size and comes with all the peripherals needed to plug and play. So next time you're looking for a gift or something to spoil yourself, why not visit the team at Kin Hank via their website or Amazon store?